I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, a San Diego police officer files a lawsuit claiming racial discrimination connected to a century-old cartoon. And San Diego State announces the next steps in its plan to fight sexual assault on campus.
And a cheaper, easier way to get a four-year college degree in San Diego. I'm Peggy Pico with what two local community colleges are offering. Plus, the Human Rights Film Festival begins tonight in Balboa Park. How a personal touch aims to inspire youth to action.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. A San Diego police sergeant is suing the city for racial discrimination. Arthur Scott says he was the victim of a hostile work environment and retaliation after he complained about a racist cartoon used in a training class. The cartoon was drawn a century ago. It shows an ape-like caricature of San Diego's first black police officer. Scott is black and says he was passed over for promotion and pressured into a transfer after his complaint. Chief Shelley Zimmerman says the department will take the case very seriously and cooperate with any investigation of Scott's claim. Health officials are warning folks tonight to stay away from the happiest place on earth if they haven't had a measles vaccine. 70 people have now come down with the measles in an outbreak that started at the parks in Anaheim last month. 5 of the patients were Disney employees. Measles, of course, is highly contagious, and it spread to 4 other states as well as Mexico. With school back in session, San Diego State is announcing new steps to end sexual violence on campus. The university is getting $200,000 to hire a victim's advocate. They will also hire a coordinator for the Women's Resource Center opening soon, provide bi-weekly briefings by the Sexual Violence Task Force, hold a Sexual Assault Awareness Week in April, and training for resident advisors, as well as training, discussions, and events with the Greek community. A UC regent wants to repeal the 5% tuition increase approved in November. John Perez is asking regents to place the issue back on the agenda and vote for a repeal. Now, Governor Jerry Brown and UC President Janet Napolitano got the go-ahead to form a 2-member committee to find ways to avoid raising tuition and increasing the state's budget for higher education. 2 community colleges right here in San Diego County, we told you earlier, were chosen this week to offer a 4-year degree. Peggy Pico explains the cost and how the pilot program works.
Thanks to a new bill authored by Senator Marty Block, Mesa College and MiraCosta College will offer 4-year baccalaureate degrees in health information management and biomanufacturing. Here with the details are my guests, Mesa College President Dr. Pamela Lester and Dr. Mary Bernard, VP of Instructional Service at MiraCosta College. And welcome.
Thank you.
Now, Mary, when will Mesa actually begin offering this 4-year degree program under the pilot program?
So we'll begin August 2015, which is this year, inviting our first freshman class in.
Okay, and Mary, how about MiraCosta?
It will be a similar. We're looking at starting the 4-year program by the fall of 17, but we will be inviting the freshmen, those who are interested in the program, to start thinking about moving in that direction as of the fall of 15 as well.
How does the cost of a 4-year degree program either at either of your schools actually compare to a similar degree at a 4-year public university?
Well, the tuition for the baccalaureate degree at a community college is going to come out to $130 per unit. Translate that to a 4-year college. I'm not sure what the tuition is at CSU or UC right now. It's been a while since my son was at a UC, so.
Well, I know, Pamela, you actually compared the health management degree at Loma Linda.
Yes, so Loma Linda is the only university in California, and it's private, to offer the degree, and it's about $60,000 for the bachelor's degree, and our degrees will be a little over $10,000.
For the whole 4 years?
For the whole 4 years, for tuition, yes.
Okay.
Right.
What are some of the challenges? I'll start with you, Mary. What are some of the challenges in this program?
Some of the challenges in ramping up the program?
Sure, and getting a baccalaureate program at a community college.
Well, I see them more as an opportunity, and that is in developing the program, because what we're really doing is we're trying to develop, we're proposing to develop a program that meets an unmet need and targets a workforce need in our local region, in our biotech region, by offering a baccalaureate degree in biomanufacturing, which will help us provide workers who have production-based talents and skills.
Sure. In Pamela, is there a waiting list already? Because you guys are starting first.
We do have a waiting list just for our 2-year program, so this will really be exciting. And for the bachelor's program, we're actually hoping that some of our folks from UCSD, Scripps, Palomar Health will come back and take the degree because they've already graduated.
Now, why did your school identify health information management as the best choice to start this program with?
One, because we have an accredited 2-year program that's already ready to go, and so adding the next 2 years made all sorts of sense. The advisory board that we have of all the healthcare professionals in our area were very strong in coming forward to recommend it. So we've got community support, industry, business support, faculty that are ready and willing to run with it and ready to go. So it made all sorts of sense for us.
Same question to you, Mary. Why biomanufacturing?
Well, San Diego is the third of the top 3 hubs of the biotechnology industry, behind San Francisco and Boston. And so we have a biotechnology program, associate level program, and so there is a growing need for trained biomanufacturing technicians. So we're really being responsive to an industry need here.
And you're getting people from the biotech industry in San Diego to help, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they can help with. We're going to form the advisory board to help us with developing curriculum, but they can also help us in serving as instructors in the programs as well.
Really practical. Pamela, how significant is this to offer 4-year degrees at Mesa College, at community colleges? What does it mean to your community? What does it mean to the community here in San Diego?
What it means is that people who are true San Diegans that live here, want to go to work here, want to stay in San Diego, can start and finish a degree at Mesa College. We have a lot of folks that are resident San Diegans that want to live here and stay here, and affordably and easily they can continue to do that through this program. They can stay home the whole time.
And Mary, do you have anything to add to that?
Same thing. Yes, thrilling for the K through 12 districts that we serve, Carlsbad and Oceanside Unified School Districts. Students can go through, they can get a baccalaureate degree and not have to leave their neighborhoods.
And I don't know if we covered this, but I want to touch on it again, and we'll wrap with this, Pamela, with you. What's the process? Do you have to be a high school student? Do you have to already be enrolled? Who gets to jump into these programs?
So we have a very impacted program now, so we will be opening up the process. Some of it's actually done by lottery, but you do have to meet a certain requirement of grade point average, of preparation in terms of your general education, and so those will be the kind of criteria that we'll look at.
All right, Dr. Pamela Lester and Dr. Mary Bernard, thank you so much.
Thank you
for having us.
Republicans in Washington are moving ahead with a bill to secure the U.S. border with Mexico. It focuses on something called operational control, defined as stopping all illegal border crossers. It calls for operational control in high traffic areas within 2 years and for the whole border within 5. Democrats say it's unrealistic, and it's even been criticized by members of the GOP. A committee passed it today, and it now goes before the full House next week. San Diego Assemblywoman Toni Atkins will complete her term in office next year, and candidates are starting to line up for her 78th district seat. Atkins is endorsing Sarah Boot, a former city council candidate. The 78th is a heavily Democratic district. Boot says her background as a federal prosecutor made her want to run.
I'm still very passionate about public safety and protecting the community, and what I've learned is that this is really tied up in how strong our public education system is and how vibrant our economy is and the amount of really strong middle-class jobs that we have here in San Diego. These are state issues, so I'm excited to take my experiences to Sacramento and really work to make a difference on these issues.
Another Democrat has also announced his campaign. Former City Councilman Ed Harris is running in the 78th district as well. You can cross billionaire Tom Steyer off the list of possible candidates to replace Senator Barbara Boxer today. The activist said he won't run. State Attorney General Kamala Harris is the only candidate who's officially announced a run. There are several potential candidates considering it, including former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa and Oceanside Assemblyman Rocky Chavez. Senator Barbara Boxer still has 2 years left on her term, and today she introduced a resolution supporting women's reproductive health, including the right to an abortion. Thousands of Anti-abortion demonstrators, meanwhile, marched in Washington today, marking the anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision in 1973. As they marched, House Republicans passed a bill to bar federal funds for abortion under the Affordable Care Act. President Obama says he'll veto the restrictions. San Diego has a new city council this year with 5 Democrats and 4 Republicans, erasing the supermajority Democrats held for much of last year. KPBS reporter Claire Trageser talked with one of the more outspoken council members, Republican Scott Sherman, and asked how he'll influence the new council dynamic.
When city council members elected their president a year ago, all of them spoke in support of Democrat Todd Gloria.
I admire, respect, and think the world of you.
I look forward to having you serve as our council president for another year and another year and another year.
The dignity and professionalism and grace you brought to the office after everything we had to endure, it's really restored, I think, the citizens' confidence in government.
This year, the 4 Republican council members voted to oust Gloria and elect Democrat Sherry Leitner president. But only one person spoke in support of her.
Last time I voted for Todd Gloria, and I was praised for being nonpartisan. Am I going to be partisan if I vote for a different Democrat this time? So is it being partisan voting for one and not another? I don't understand how that works. It may not be your choice, but it doesn't mean that it's not a nonpartisan choice, okay?
Despite grumbling from the pro-Gloria crowd, Sherman spoke up for Leitner. But don't assume that means he's stepping up to be the council's Republican leader.
Even though we all have R's after our name, I think we're all very different in how we operate. So I don't know if there's an actual leader. It depends more on an issue or a situation, I think.
In the coming year, Sherman will suggest new rules on the council presidency, including possibly limiting it to 2 one-year terms.
Because that'll take away the politics that can get involved, the hurt feelings, the accusations, and it makes for a more cohesive working group.
He says he supported Leitner because she's good at technical details. He also didn't like some of the public policies Gloria advocated.
It got to be where it was more of an agenda-type driven mentality and ideas, where it should be, to me, nuts and bolts government.
One of the things Gloria pushed was increasing the city's minimum wage to $11.50 an hour. When the council voted for the increase, Sherman was again outspoken.
25 years ago, I was a single dad, raising a 2-year-old daughter by myself, working 2 jobs. But I didn't look to government to say, please, please, government, do something to tell my boss that I'm worth an extra $1.50 an hour. I went to them and convinced them that I was worth an extra $5 an hour. I found out what was special about me. I don't believe in the power of government to make your life better. I believe in the power of the individual. I believe in every single solitary one of you out there is worth more than minimum wage. But it's not for us to decide what your worth is. It's for you to prove what your worth is.
Sherman says he did find a job that recognized what made him special. He was working in landscaping until his father hired him at his insurance company.
Too many times I think people listen to some people in government who like to tell them you can't do it without us. And I like to tell people, no, 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 no. You can do it despite us. And that's really what I like to convey to people is take some time, try and learn something from everything you do every day, and eventually you'll have skills that'll get you along.
During council meetings, Sherman often says,
I'm not a politician. Surrounded by a bunch of them, but I'm not a politician.
He says now that while that's still true, he is becoming more political in some ways.
Understanding that politics kind of gets involved in what I thought a lot of times was everyday nuts and bolts kind of decisions. You know, there's always somebody nagging in your ear of the political consequences that might be had.
Sherman says he isn't too worried about political consequences. He plans to run for re-election next year and then probably will quit politics.
You never want to rule something out completely, but I'll give you a strong 95%.
This year, Sherman hopes to focus on making it easier to do neighborhood projects and re-evaluating city fees. Claire Trageser, KPBS News.
Expectant mothers might one day get more information from prenatal tests. That's what two San Diego companies hope to provide in a new partnership. KPBS science reporter David Wagner joins us now to explain. So who's behind this announcement, David?
Well, first there's Sequenom. They make an increasingly popular prenatal test that screens for Down syndrome, and it uses only a blood sample from the mother to analyze the genes of the fetus. So it's catching on because it's not a very invasive test. But Sequenom wants to check for more genetic abnormalities in the future. So today they announced a partnership with another San Diego-based company, Cipher Genomics.
And how do they fit in?
So they'll give these tests a more detailed picture of the fetus's chromosomes. So in theory, they could screen for all kinds of new diseases. The companies have not yet announced which specific disorders the new tests will look at. But this kind of genetic testing is expanding quickly, and parents will have to make sense of a lot more information about pregnancies as these tests become more common.
KPBS science reporter David Wagner. An 11-year-old boy is the recipient of the first pediatric heart transplant ever performed in San Diego. Eric Montano went on the heart transplant waiting list last August. He suffered from a disorder preventing his heart from filling with blood properly. His mother says she got the call from Rady Children's Hospital last week. A donor heart had been found, and she needed to get Eric to the hospital immediately.
My emotions were just all going crazy because I didn't know if I was crying because I was happy or because I was scared. I was excited, but it was really, really tough.
He has a very good chance of surviving a long time. My hope is that this heart can be with him for at least 20 or 30 years, assuming he does all the things we ask of him, which includes taking medications and coming in for visits.
How are you doing, Eric? Pediatric heart transplants are rare. On average, there are fewer than 500 a year worldwide.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, we sit down with the British Foreign Secretary as Europe grapples with extremist threats. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
The Human Rights Watch Film Festival opens tonight in Balboa Park. Peggy Pico previews a few films trying to make a difference.
Using the power of film to make a difference, that's the byline to this year's film festival. The aim is to empower audience members with personal documentaries like this. Return to Homes is the story of a young revolutionary upon his return to Syria. It's one of 6 films in the festival. Welcome to my guest, Human Rights Watch researcher Faraz Shinay and Paulo Zuniga, film coordinator for the Museum of Photographic Arts. And Paulo, is there a special theme to this year's films?
I would say the overarching theme for the festival is perseverance. You know, each film has a protagonist or character that strives to persevere their circumstances of where they're living at and what's presented to them. So.
Now, for us, this is the 5th year the film festival has been here in San Diego. How does a Human Rights Watch mission fit in with having a film festival?
Well, part of Human Rights Watch's mission is to document and expose human rights violations that are occurring in various countries in the world. And 2 of the films, for instance, that relate to Middle East are tackle issues with regard to the civil war in Syria and also women and girls' rights in Iran. And those are both issues that myself and my colleagues have worked on for the past several years.
Well, we've got a clip here of the film that opens the festival tonight, Sepida, Reaching for the Stars.
I'm here at the International Space Station, the place I always wanted to be.
من وقتی مستند زنوشی انصاری رو دیدم.
Paulo, what's this film about?
The film is really about a young Iranian woman who strives to be more than what her circumstances allow her in life. You know, she feels constrained by her cultural standards, her family practices, and knows that there's something more for her out there. And so the film kind of follows her as she
searches for that.
She wants to be an astronaut.
Yeah,
she wants to be an astronaut. It's really quite moving what I've seen. Faraz, other documentaries about issues that women face in Middle Eastern countries tend to be rather somber. Why is this one so inspiring?
It resonates with every girl who has a dream to be something, and you know, her dream is to be an astronaut and to go into astronomy. And I think the film does a beautiful job of, in a very nuanced and sophisticated way, showing how she goes about tackling issues of her family, things that are trying to hold her back, and eventually basically goes to where she wants to get to.
And when thinking of human rights, why is the nuanced story important?
I think it's important in Iran in particular because there are lots of myths about how women and girls are in Iran, and it's certainly true that there are lots of discriminatory laws in terms of personal status and things of that nature, divorce, inheritance. But women also have a very important role in Iranian society. For instance, 60% of university students are women and girls, and when people hear that, they're shocked. They think, oh, you know, Iran is very backward, you know, women can't drive there, but actually there are lots of myths that are dispelled in this story, and that's one thing that I really love about it.
Paulo, would you briefly describe, there's a total of 6 films, as we mentioned, in this festival.
Right.
Give us some highlights of what some of the other films are about.
Some of the highlights, so quickly, tomorrow we've got Lady Valor, the Kristen Beck story, dealing with a transgender in the military. We've got a domestic violence film on Saturday at 3 p.m. We've got a Out in the Night, which deals with 4 LGBT women in New York that deal with some violence of their own. We've got a, I'm blanking out here, but Return to Homes, obviously, is deals with the Syrian conflict. And the Homestretch closes our festival on Sunday night. And that one deals with youth homelessness, which is something that we can relate to here in San Diego.
And that's a broad range of human rights subjects to cover, but for us, how do you overcome the notion that you're going to go to this film festival and you're not going to walk away depressed?
Well, I mean, some of the films, as I said, are inspiring. Sepida is a very inspiring film. I think what's really important about the film festival is it connects people here in San Diego and other places to the lives of individuals who are really battling some serious issues, whether it's discrimination, whether it's civil war, whether it's a siege on their city, as we see in Return to Homes. And it really engages you and it initiates a dialogue to understand better what, you know, San Diegans can do to maybe help those individuals there. The first step is always to have the proper information, and film, like no other medium, can actually connect and bring that information to audiences.
All right, for Sune and Paulo Zuniga, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Balboa Park is adding to its collection of international cottages today. The San Diego Planning Commission approved 9 more cottages. There are already 19 near the Spreckles Oregon Pavilion. One of the new cottages will be the House of Mexico. Let's take a look at the forecast heading into the weekend. Sunny along the coast, partly cloudy by Sunday. Temperatures in the 70s, about the same for the inland valleys, getting close to 80 though there by Sunday. There's a high wind watch in effect in the mountain areas beginning tomorrow night right through Saturday evening. Temperatures in the mountains, 50s and 60s. And 70s in the desert with some clouds tomorrow as well as Sunday. Let's recap tonight's top stories. A San Diego police sergeant is suing the city for racial discrimination. Arthur Scott says he was the victim of a hostile work environment and retaliation after he complained about a racist cartoon used in a training class. It shows an ape-like caricature of San Diego's first black police officer. Scott is black and says he was passed over for promotion and pressured into a transfer after his complaint. Chief Shelley Zimmerman says the department will take the case very seriously and cooperate with any investigation of Scott's claim. Health officials are warning folks to stay away from the happiest place on earth if they haven't had a measles vaccine. 70 people have now come down with the measles in an outbreak that started at the parks in Anaheim last month. 5 of the patients were Disney employees. Measles is highly contagious, and it spread to 4 other states, including Mexico. With school back in session, San Diego State is announcing new steps tonight to keep sexual violence on campus, or rather off campus. The university is getting $200,000 to hire a victim's advocate. They will also hire a coordinator for the Women's Resource Center opening soon. provide bi-weekly briefings by the Sexual Violence Task Force, hold a Sexual Assault Awareness Week in April, training for resident advisors, and training discussions and events with the Greek community. Here's a look at what we're working on for tomorrow in the KPBS newsroom. San Diego Opera's new season is underway with La Boheme. We'll go behind the scenes of the production to learn how realistic details will bring the performance to life. Join us tomorrow morning starting at 5:30 on 89.5 FM. And you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great night.